Hello to all students at Chinook High School. I'm David Suzuki. You know, my grandparents came from Japan to Canada in the early 1900s. My dad was born in Vancouver in 1909. My mom was born here in Vancouver in 1911. And I was born in Vancouver in 1936. My grandparents never learned to speak English. I never learned to speak Japanese. So I never had a serious conversation with any of my grandparents. In other words, I had no roots. I had no roots that went to Japan. I had no roots except what I learned here in Canada. So I have very thin roots. In 1980, I went to Haida Gwaii for the first time to do a film for the Nature of Things about the fight against logging in one of their bays called Windy Bay. And in that process, I interviewed many people, and one of them was a man named Gu Jiao, who was an artist and had led the fight against logging for many years. Now, I knew the Haida had a high level of unemployment. They needed jobs, and many of the loggers were Haida. So I said to him, why are you opposing the logging? After all, isn't it good economically? I said, what difference does it make to you? You're an artist. What difference does it make if the trees are all cut down? And he said, well, when the trees are gone, I guess I'll just be like everybody else. I had no idea what he was talking about till I thought about it, and I realized he's opened a window on a radically different way of seeing himself in the world. That to be Haida, to be who he is, it meant that he was connected to the air, the water, the soil, the trees, the birds, the fish. All of that is what make the Haida who they are. And he was saying, you cut the trees down, a large part of what it is to be Haida would be lost. And because of that first insight, I ended up writing a book called The Sacred Balance, Rediscovering Our Place in Nature. And ever since then, I've learned so much from Indigenous people all over the world. I've worked with Indigenous people in the Amazon, in Australia, in Japan. And it's all the same. It's about how we are absolutely connected to the rest of nature. So my daughter, one of my daughters, who's now the executive director of the David Suzuki Foundation, married a Haida, Judson Brown, and now they have given me the greatest gift I've ever had, which is two Haida grandsons. My daughter learned to speak Haida fluently, more than her husband, who is learning, but she has raised her two sons learning Haida as well. And it's an ongoing process, but it's an exciting one. She's convinced me that language is a critical part of who we are and connect us intimately to the environment. Now, I hope I don't screw this up. My word is for river. NEED-ah-dahn. 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 I hope I've approximated it. Good word to learn.